Hey guys, welcome to a very exciting game from the Adolf Anderssen saga. Firstly, I would like to apologize for not making the video for last couple of days. Since I was on Diwali vacation and I was traveling, I had pretty limited internet access, which is why it was not possible for me to make any videos. But now that I'm back, I want to continue this Adolf Anderssen saga. And also I would like to let you know that I've received a lot of requests from many of you guys to cover a lot of tournaments, but it's impossible to cover all the tournaments. So I'll be covering only the top tournaments because there are so many chess games that are being played, so many tournaments, it's just practically not possible. For now, let's continue with the Adolf Anderssen saga and let's get into the game. This game was played in Belarus in 1863 between Adolf Anderssen, who has the black pieces, and Jakob Rosanes, who has the white pieces. Jakob was a great mathematician and also a very interesting chess player. There were two games played between these two players, and both of them have won a game each. So let's get into the game. We have e4 by Jakob, who has the white pieces, and e5 in response by Adolf Anderssen. We have f4, and this is the King's Gambit variation. And e takes f4. You know what they always say, the best way to refute a gambit is by accepting it. So we have knight to f3, and now g5, putting some support to this pawn. h4, immediately attacking this pawn and trying to create some weaknesses. We have g4 instead, not capturing, but now putting some pressure on this knight. This knight can now either move back to g1 and then it has to go to e2 and then follow it either to support the d4 pawn, or even go to c3, which is not really something that you want to consider. Instead, you want to play knight to e5. This is the top move. And it is just to move 5, but already black is in a dominating position. Even though none of the pieces are developed, the two pawns are way too forward, and it's still better for black. We have knight to f6 and bishop to c4, d5. Finally, this pawn was being attacked, so you have to protect it, and the best way to protect it is by pushing your pawn to d5. So we have e takes d5, and now bishop to d6, attacking this knight since it's not protected. We get d4, defending the knight, saying if you capture, I'm definitely going to not that way, but to capture it with the pawn, and you're going to have two wonderful pawns here, and it's going to be a pain for black later on. But knight to h5, developing the knight. Now this knight is going to occupy this wonderful g3 square, which is an outpost. You don't really have pawns here on f or h file on the second rank to remove this knight from here. So that's what's Adolf Anderssen's idea. We have bishop to b5 with check, and now c3, defending the check. But d takes c3, b takes c3, and now knight takes c3. We have knight takes c3 and bishop to c3 check. After all of these exchanges on this c6 file, or c6 square, this bishop is definitely going to pick up the rook. But can you imagine, even in this position, it's black who is in an advantage, mainly because even though his rook is hanging, none of the other pieces are developed, and king is kind of stuck in the center. Not really much he can do right now because he cannot castle. This knight is going to jump to g3 square pretty quick, and it's going to have some problems. So that's why modern theorists always say develop first, develop your pieces, develop, and then start attacking. But nonetheless, we have king to f8, simply getting out of the check, and now bishop takes a8. This is again a mistake. Knight to g3, and look at this knight. Finally it takes its g3 spot, and this is nice outpost. It cannot be threatened anytime soon, because you have to move the king, you have to move this bishop, and only then will you be able to attack this knight. That's almost three moves. You cannot even move the king to f1 because the f1 is being attacked by this knight, so you have to move the king to f2. But that's how much of a trouble or a problem this position is. And now we have rook to h2. There was another move, rook to g2, which could have also been played, but he instead prefers rook to h2. This is a good time for you guys to pause the video and try to find the perfect combination for black to attack. I'm gonna give you some time, so pause the video, try to find it. Those of you who found it, you guys are amazing, keep it up. And for the rest of us, the move to find was queen to e7 with check. A wonderful checking sequence. Now king to f2, and this is the best defense for white. That's why I'm showing you this line. Knight to e2. You get queen takes e2, and the reason why you move the knight away is because you want to give the check with g3 check. Now you are attacking the king, also attacking this rook, and you cannot really capture this g3 pawn because it's nicely defended by this f4 pawn. So that was a wonderful move, and you're definitely going to take this rook. We have king to f1, getting out of the check, and now queen takes e2 with check, getting rid of the queen first. You have all the time in the world to capture this, so you want to get this king away from here as much as possible. And once king takes e2, you get bishop to a6 check, developing the bishop first. Again, you can absolutely, whenever you want, you can capture this. So we have c4. You have to give up your pawn. Bishop takes c4 with check, and king to e1. Finally, you get g takes h2, and now g4. You have to do something to defend this, but it's too late. King to g7 first, not allowing any further checks, because if you capture this en passant, then you're going to get bishop that is on c1. It goes to h6 and gives a check to the king. So you don't really want that, and that is why you have to defend that square first, the h6 square. You get bishop takes f4 and rook takes a8. You have to give up one of the bishops, and even if you cannot really capture this bishop because this piece is going to queen, so you get bishop takes h2, and now bishop takes h2. If you look at this position, completely winning for white. You have a rook against two bishops, and these two pieces are not even developed yet. So you have a king that will enter into the game, grab these two pawns, and promote this to a queen. So this is what could have been played, but instead after rook to h2, that is this move, not going for the check with queen, instead Adolf Anderssen played bishop to f5, bringing this wonderful bishop out here, out in the open. Now we have bishop to d5. It's not really a bad move as such, this bishop bringing out, but it's not the perfect continuation. So it's fine. I mean, these games were played before any computers existed, so they had to find all of these moves by themselves, and it's still a pretty great move. We have king to g7, again defending itself from any checks from h6 square. And now knight to c3, developing the knight. Rook to e8 with check, king to f2, queen to b6, pinning this pawn, and knight to a4, attacking the queen. Queen to a6 and knight to c3, again putting the knight back, asking do you want to go back to b6, and do you want to have a repetition with a 3-4 repetition. But Adolf says that's not what I'm doing. I'm playing bishop to e5. Now what happens if you capture? This would be a great mistake, so if you have some time, pause the video and try to find the combination after pawn captures here on e5. This is actually mate in 6 moves, so I hope you guys can find it. The mate starts with queen to b6 with check. You get queen to d4, you have to give up the queen, there is no other solution. This is the best combination, that's why I'm showing it to you. We have queen takes d4 with check, king to e1, queen to g1 with check, king to d2. Now you don't even have to capture this hanging rook, there is no point in capturing because you can checkmate with queen to f2, another check, knight to e2 blocking the check, now queen to e3 check, king to d1, you finally push this king into a corner where it cannot really move. And now queen takes e2, this is checkmate. So that's why in this position, capturing of this piece is not really a good idea. And even when there were no computers, this Jakob, who was an amazing chess player, did calculate it precisely and he did not play this move. But he instead played a4. Again, which is a losing move. I don't really know what the idea behind this a4 was. Maybe just to push it to a5 and not allow the queen to come here to b6. That is the best I can think of for the reason for moving this a2 pawn to a4. But this was a blunder and this is made in 4 moves now. So Anderssen found it. If you are in his shoes, if you are in 1863 when this game was played, think of what you will do. I'll give you a hint. The moves, the first move is queen to f1 with check. So after this, I hope you all are able to find it because this move is it's a little difficult to find. That's why I gave you the hint. After queen to f1, the only option is for you to capture this queen. So you get queen takes f1, bishop takes d4 with check. You have bishop to e3. You have to give up some of the pieces. And now rook takes e3, not capturing with the bishop, but instead capturing with the rook. You get king to g1. That's the best defense, and now you simply get rook to e1. This is checkmate as your king has nowhere to go. All these squares are covered. There is nothing your king can do. You cannot even block this check by putting the queen because your queen is stuck. It's a pin. There is nothing you can do. So this was actually the final position on the board as it was a checkmate, and back then it was custom to play these games till the checkmate, mainly because why not just play it out? All the draws and everything else, all the rules and regulations came into picture in the late 1900s, which is why these games were played till the checkmating sequence scenarios. But an interesting game of Adolf Anderssen with the black pieces, pretty amazing moves. And King's Gambit was pretty famous, and everybody almost played King's Gambit, and they accepted the Gambit. So, pretty amazing moves by these two players, and that's all from today's video. I hope you enjoyed this game. That's all from me. Namaste. See you next time.